is fair to do. Now, throughout October in the UK, there's an average of 1,564 extra deaths per week. Now, in 2020, the first year of the pandemic, the average for 2020 was 315 deaths per week. So we're losing way more people now from non-COVID deaths than we did from COVID deaths in the first year of the pandemic. And the main year of the pandemic, 2021, the average for the 52 weeks was 1,322. So again, we're losing way more people now from non-COVID deaths. And that's 24,440 people, non-COVID deaths since May 2022 in the UK. This is just a huge phenomena. Now, I'll just show you this screen. 23rd of March 2020 was the first lockdown in the UK. And there'd been 173 deaths per day. 197 was the 7-day average. So we actually see that the deaths now are higher than they were. Average of 1,564 at the first lockdown. Now, of course, it did go up and would have gone up higher without restrictions. But the point I'm making here is, you know, we had all these lockdowns. We had this mass vaccination campaign. We had people bouncing up and down about it. Politicians and medical officers and scientific officers strutting over the TV every night. And now we've actually got higher levels of deaths and no one seems to be commenting on it at all. It is utterly bizarre and inexplicable that we did so much for a certain number of deaths. Now we have a high number of deaths and no one seems to be saying a thing. It really is very, very strange that this is going on. Now, we don't want to get into conspiracy theory, but to me, it's inexplicable why mainstream media is not all over this and shouting it from the rooftops, because there's a major phenomena that we're suffering from. And it's different age groups as well. It's not just young people. So if we go onto this screen again here, we can actually do this by age group and look at different age groups, and we see that that is the age group. That age group there is all, so excess deaths in all age group. But we actually see, albeit with a smaller scale, thankfully, excess deaths in 0 to 24s. Excess deaths in 25 to 49s, excess deaths in 50 to 64s, excess deaths in every age group, more than we would expect. And yet people don't seem to be talking about it. Very, very strange. This chap here, Amivita Banerjee, clinical data scientist, honorary consultant cardiologist, Institute of Health Informatics, University of London. So someone who should be on top of the data. Some direct quotes here. We should never ever have had a pandemic preparedness team that did not consider the indirect and long-term effects of the measures that were being taken. Correct. We focused on the direct effects of excess deaths from COVID. But from the beginning, it's likely the indirect effects will lead to more deaths. This should have been anticipated by people who were responsible for making the decisions, because they should have been appraised of all the data that we didn't have at the time. Failures occurred, clearly. And more morbidity and more economic impacts than COVID deaths itself. So the effects of the pandemic are causing more deaths than COVID itself. What I see is still a focus on the direct effects of COVID. So we're still focusing on COVID rather than what we might call the collateral damage and the side effects from what we're doing about COVID. Nobody's who are in charge of the NHS or any of the new health secretariats are making any noise about it. Why the heck aren't they making 100 decibel shout about this? Now, of course, ideally now we'd go on and talk about the more specific causes of the increased mortality. But we have kind of pointed that out because we've looked at looked at the proximal causes, the immediate causes of death. What we need, of course, is a massive investigation, and I think we have to demand explanations for the more distal causes. So there is something pretty horrible going on. Over 1,800 excess deaths a week, more than we would expect, and it's been going on for a long time now. And we need an explanation. So I really think this is one of these things where we should be writing to our representatives and say, look, come on, what the heck is going on here? Because these aren't statistics, these are individuals. So on that really quite depressing, ominous note, on that quite inexplicable note, thank you for watching.